Wow, happy Monday. Has everyone caught up on their sleep?
Doubt. Never in doubt.
You never had a doubt?
While the meltdown was happening, did Yacht Talk go to Twitter? Did Yacht Talk go to Twitter? The proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
Now,
don't
Yacht Talk went to
tweet
Twitter.
emotionally.
They didn't tweet emotionally.
I'm saying that's
Yacht Talk went to Twitter and said, tell the folks.
You said
tell the folks
Liberty will win this by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that was around halftime.
It was a
Didn't
little bit
come
more
true,
halftime.
but
But while the meltdown was happening, and this is what leads into something that this isn't our decision in my mind.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it. But this leads to the Snell scoring system because Jeff Snell needs to make the call for a bowl prediction. Is he willing to sub in that tweet as a part of the bowl prediction?
No.
That's not for your call to make.
That's
for Jeff Snell.
You're going to like what Jeff Snell, historic
Yeah, it was a historic
disaster from not the Flames, thankfully.
Wow,
we have a lot to unload from the New Mexico State game. We'll preview UTEP. We'll also, I don't know if you know, but it's just not football season, people. Lady Flame Soccer is on fire.
They may be the hottest team on
this campus right now.
Give them the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Oh?
Yeah.
Seriously?
We're going to get Halle Engle to come out and at the interview. She needs to be the one that hits the flamethrower, no doubt.
Right. She is flaming some, goals all season. I'm just trying to bring.
Oh, no. Stick to the script.
I don't know if you guys enjoyed last week's show when I was gone on assignment. I had back-to-back 4 a.m.
We had a lot of great
mornings,
feedback.
And then, whatever.
A lot of great feedback
the
on last
late
week's
game
show.
on Saturday night, my brain is in a complete fog.
People really love last week's show. We did it in the man cave.
We did.
So that's kind of when Emily's not here, we go shoot it in the man cave.
It's the highest rated podcast of the year. But besides that,
not a big deal.
But we'll have Halle Engle's interview here in a little bit with women's soccer and their hot start. But first, we just want I want each of you to give your key takeaway reaction to that New Mexico State game. Quentin Cooley, feed him.
He pulled him out of the fire.
But then the defense really came to play in the second half. Matt, what was your takeaway?
Well, the defense, at one point, I know I'm keep writing down notes as the game goes along. At one point, I put, does Liberty only play with 9 guys on defense? In the first half, early on, it looked that way. The Awad kid, the quarterback for New Mexico State, threw for 37 yards in their week 1 game against Southeast Missouri. He threw for over 100 in the first quarter against Liberty. You're like, what is going on? In fact, there was a point late second quarter where I just put, at this point through, it was almost 6 quarters of football, what exactly do we feel good about? Yeah. Because at that point, the defense was getting shredded. The offense wasn't moving the ball. You still had a bunch of penalties. There were 2 15-yard penalties in the first quarter. You'd missed a couple of field goals. At that point, it's which side of the ball, what are we feeling good about right now? There wasn't a lot. But the defense really locked in the second half, really late second quarter through the second half. And I felt like maybe what flipped the switch, it felt different, was TJ Bush had a sack. Late first half.
You'll see it in the Flames fantasy standings.
And it felt like, okay. That kind of changed the attitude, whatever it was. It felt like it was a kind of, you were just trudging through. And at that point, it just felt like something flipped. And you saw him continue to get more pressure. Then, of course, you had the huge play with Quentin Reese on the blitz up the middle, knocking the ball free. CJ Bazell scoop and score. You just felt like the defense, really from that sack on, realized
woke up.
We have to maybe not win the game, but we're not winning the game if we don't take this thing to a whole other level.
Right.
And they really did. They gave up the 1 touchdown in the second half, but outside of that, they shut them down. And that was the difference, I felt like.
Oh boy, I can see something
what did we say?
brewing in
What did we
Joey
say,
Oxide.
Joe? What has been the talk for, and this is why it was more frustrating than anything early in this game, for a month we've been saying defense is deeper, more athletic.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been dominating in camp. Oh, this is how Liberty will win. Defense. And then you came out early on and looked like that, and it was like,
didn't look great against Campbell either.
Were we all totally wrong? And if so, this season could look a whole lot different than we expected.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I feel like we started to see them do some things, and the guys you expected to be good were good and showed up in the second half of that game.
The word that keeps coming into my mind and as watching the game and everything is if you want to, if Liberty and Coach Chadwell's staff know this, that if you want to take Liberty to that next level, right? And that is, as defensive, like you said, athletically, things have gotten better. You know, there's great athletes. Cade Salter's a great athlete. Cooley's a great athlete. There's players everywhere, right? But if you want to go to the next level, the word's continuity. And to me, sometimes that continuity is mostly tested when things aren't going well, right? And so then you start looking around and you go, okay, where is continuity being shown and where is it not? And that can grow throughout the season.
Sure.
Right? You may not have it now, but it may come down the road. And so what I saw a defense that struggled early on, but they were able to handle through the fire, and you could sense their continuity. That, guys, we'll stick together. We're in this together. We're going to play through it. We're going to make it. And then, like you said, when the TJ Bush sack happened, it's like, okay, now we're getting a little momentum going. Then you saw their confidence build. And I think that confidence built because there wasn't finger pointing. There wasn't any of that stuff going on. It was like, guys, we stick together. You keep our continuity, and then eventually we'll get the job done and we'll play well. I think right now on the offensive side of the football that the offensive line, and we knew this, has got some things to figure out, right? There's not great continuity there, but you do sense that they're working hard. They're trying to do it. Where it's off, I think the running back position is fine, right? Absolutely fine. Where the continuity's off is between the quarterback and the receivers. And that's what needs to be worked on, because you saw throughout the course of the game that there were some things showing on the field. It's like, well, I don't think you're quite doing this right.
I feel like already in 2 games, we've seen more from Caden Salter after a play is over of him yelling, pointing, like demonstrably showing like we're not on the same page here. And we've seen that in both games.
Right. So the point is that when you get to that part of the continuity is like what Caden Salter, in my humble opinion, needs to do as a leader is not display his frustration in it, right? Like you've got because when you start doing that, the receivers sense that, and then they can start having.
Take me back. Did you ever have a quarterback do that with you? Like, you're a receiver, you've been in those shoes. Like, how does that affect you if you have?
It does. Yes, I have, and like some really good ones too. And so, but it does, because what happens in your brain as a receiver, right? You start thinking, oh yeah, I made a mistake, right? But especially if it's in the open and you're trying to correct me in that mistake, right? Then in my mind, it's very natural to go, but what about when you make a mistake?
Right.
What about when you throw one in the dirt when I'm wide open? Should I come back and be hollering at you?
Yeah.
And so that caused that separation. And so I think it's important that there's some things with all the new receivers and not having a CJ Daniels here, right? That you got to work through some things, and that'll take some time, but you have to trust that eventually you'll find that continuity. And right now, that's a little bit dicey. And you can sense it. You can feel it, and you can sense it. So the good news is, I think defensively, they battle through it. And I'm telling you right now, the Quentin Reese blitz and the way that the devil's in the details, right? The way that Quentin Reese set that blitz up was the difference maker, right? When you show too early, the quarterback's eyes go to you, and then he realizes, okay, this guy could be coming, and I'm going to have to get rid of it quicker. What Quentin Reese did is he never showed it. He never showed it, and that dude had no clue he was coming. And when he came through, he just lit him up. Obviously, C.J. Bazell picks up the ball and scores a touchdown. But I'm telling you, the play of the game, which won this game for Liberty, was 3rd down, 3 minutes to go. They tried to run the screen. They had it. They had it. They had the lineman out in front, pulled out, came out in front, and Jerome Jolly slipped the lineman and made the tackle to stop them, make them. They decided to punt the ball instead of go for it. That play, because they get the first down there. I think we had maybe one timeout left. We had one left. I was like, if he gets that first down, the game's over. It's over. Jerome Jolly, give him a helmet sticker.
I want to go back to that call, because that's something I put in my notes. It was 3:04 left after that Jolly tackle. It's 4th and 3 on the Liberty 46. New Mexico State leading by 2, right? And they decided to punt. I feel like all game long, you kind of had this sense from New Mexico State. Listen, you're a 3-touchdown underdog. There's a little bit of that, like, we're just going to go throw it all out there, and we're just going to play. Like, we're the underdog. We're playing this to win. Throw caution to the wind. And then you got to that point, and you see Tony Sanchez on the sideline, and all of a sudden, you go from playing to do whatever it takes to win and you go,
Yeah.
let's play not to lose here. You go from just caution to the wind to suddenly like, ooh, boy, this feels different. We're up by a couple. Let's just play it safe.
Let's try.
And I feel like in that situation, you're the underdog. You go for it.
Yeah.
You say, we're going to lay it on the line here, because you're right. You pick up a first down, suddenly it may be over.
It's over.
And so, like, you're that close. You say, this is what we're doing. We're going for it on fourth. You want to instill confidence in your team. Listen, they wanted this game bad. How often did we hear the announcers talk about how, like, they've got this chip, they want to prove something? They gave the quote from Tony Sanchez where he told them, we want to drag them into the deep water and drown them. Like, that was his quote. They drug him into the deep water, and then they handed him a floaty when they decided to punt at the end. You know what I mean? Like, that was the chance. That was the chance to do it, and they didn't have the guts to do it. They give the ball back to Liberty, and you saw how it ended. So I felt like they missed an opportunity there to slam the door. They didn't have the guts to go for it, and in the end, it benefited the Flames.
It is really, I mean, it's been uncomfortable watching these games, the first two games, because they're just flirting with, like, you're that close to just throwing the game away. Obviously, they end up winning like 41, whatever, and 24 to Campbell, and then pulling this one out. But after the game, Coach Chadwell was saying nothing seemed to go our way, yada, yada. But it was interesting. He's like, we're a selfish team. Like, we are a selfish team. When you look at the penalties, when you don't have that chemistry of guys, like continuity and all that, maybe you do kind of isolate a little bit more, and that's why you're being a little bit more selfish. Do I think that this coaching staff will, like, get these guys back gelling together and not flirting with these losses like they have been these first two games of just not, like, just sloppy, right?
11 penalties, 122 yards.
122 yards.
Back-to-back games over 100 yards of penalties.
Like, you're just, here you go.
Yeah.
It's just.
And we saw.
You can't do that to
Xavier
East
Gray
Carolina.
get
You can't do that to App
for
State.
I mean, how often do you see that? Like, you always see, like, hey, how many times you heard the penalty of, hey, it's your first unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, like, second one you're out, but you don't, like, to be smart enough to know, like, I can't take a second one and get kicked out.
Yeah,
well,
especially when your offensive line is thin anyways. Like,
that's not good.
Yeah,
no, it's not good.
But when you look at, that being said, when you look at Cooley, and what I've seen out of Cooley, we talked a little bit about before we started taping, is like his leadership and maturity has gone to another level. I saw it in Campbell on the sidelines when defense wasn't playing great. Who was hyping up the defense? Quentin Cooley went over and dapped up every single player and says, we just got to keep our heads up. We got to keep playing. We got to keep playing. We got to stick together. So I don't know, and then what he was able to do. What did he have in the first half? Three carries, and then he had 9 for over 100 yards, whatever, in the second half. So perfect. I'm not saying we knew that was going to happen, but we had something set up with Quentin Cooley to shoot with him later today, and I'm like, I texted him and I was like, I just need you to go off in this New Mexico State game. So we have plenty of film to break down and plenty of plays. And what did he do?
That was for you.
He came out and he was like, you know what? I got to break down something in this New Mexico State game. So.
And here's the most impressive part of Quentin Cooley.
Yeah.
And this is what the team needs to rally around. Is, okay, you're Quentin Cooley. You rushed for 1,400 yards last year, whatever it was. You're sharing the load with Billy Lucas and Blue Vaughn. Okay, Blue Vaughn. Vaughn Blue. Sorry.
That'd be great.
You're sharing the load with those two guys, right? And you've gotten 3 carries. You never saw his demeanor change.
No.
Mm-hmm.
You never. All he was focused on, all he cared about, from start to beginning, was about winning that football game. All he cared about was, okay, what is the moment right now? I don't care if it's my 3rd carry, my 4th carry, or my 40th carry. Yeah. Whatever that moment is right now, I am all in on it. Mm-hmm. And that's what you could see it. You could see by his body language. You could see the way he was carrying himself. He could have been so frustrated, and he wasn't. He just kept showing up, kept grinding. When you do that, good things happen. And that a big part of that goes back to the wonderful story that you guys did on him. Yeah. And that is that, there's a difference when you face massive adversity in your life, and then you get the opportunity to do something with your life. And that's exactly what Quentin Cooley has done. It's like, dude, I've faced way worse than this, so I'm not going to sit around and pout and do whatever. I'm just going to become better because I've been given that second chance to become better. And so it is a testimony to him and to his character and to who he is. That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's a guy in my mind, offensively that you rally around and from a team perspective.
And when you watch him from the beginning of a game to end, it doesn't matter what year, he gets better. Like he just sticks with it, and he does get better.
And this is something on the broadcast they harped on a ton. Rod Gilmore, especially the analyst, he kept being like, "Where's Quentin Cooley?
Yeah,
where's Quentin Cooley?" This team has had traditionally, you alternate series, and they don't usually swap backs in and out like within a series as much. Like if it's Cooley's series, it's his series. If it's Billy Lucas, he's staying out there. But at some point, don't you feel like you just throw all that out? Throw out the balance of it. Throw out the, hey, we're trying to save his legs a little bit. We don't want to, like, in a game like this, your best player's got to be on the field. And I love Billy Lucas, but Quentin Cooley's the 1,400-yard back. He's the best back in Conference USA. Like, let's go. We'll worry about saving him some carries later on if we need to, but we need to make sure he's a huge part.
Well, with that being said, when you get into the big aspect of that, and that is third down conversions.
Oof.
Like, you got to get first downs.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And so we were sitting at 0-8. I don't know what the stats are.
I think it ended up being 1 for 11. Is that what it ended up being at the end?
If it's 1 for 11, I mean, there's the answer.
1 for 11.
There's the answer.
And that came with like a minute 55 to go in the game.
There's your answer. You're 1 for 11 on third down conversions. If you're 1 for 11 on third down, you have no rhythm offensively, right? So you get a guy a couple carries, switch out a guy, bring next guy in, crank out some front. Like, no, there's the, you can't have. But I agree with you. At some point, which they did. Yeah. And I think sometimes you just get fortunate. And like when Cooley broke off the last long run for the touchdown, they got an all-out blitz coming. They're bringing the backers. They're bringing the safety. They're bringing everybody. Once you break through that and you got the right call on at the right time, you hit that hole. Once you break through that thing, it's touchdown. So that helped out too, like having the right call at the right time.
I have a question. Okay. And again, I don't think that this is on the coaching staff. I think that we're talking young 18 to 26-year-old men. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I feel like how many COVID years some of the players have, so you never know. You had so much success last year. You go into this season with the playoff, and Liberty's you have Nick Saban saying Liberty's gonna be that number 12. It's hard. I can't imagine being that young and not
the pressure.
Going into the pressure, but just like, we got this. Like, we are like legit. Look what we did last year. We're deeper this year. We still got our star quarterback coming back. How much of this like kind of cobwebs that they're sorting through in these first two games is it because of that pressure and because of, I'm not saying this is a cocky team because that's not how I want to phrase this, but I don't know. I wonder if this is like a wake-up call yet, that like these games aren't going to be handed to you, and you guys do still have a very long road to get to the playoff.
I think it's easy as a young person to think, I mean, shoot, after we have a good podcast, I'm unbearable. I am just strutting around the office.
I saw you guys all week.
Yeah.
All week. They're like, oh my gosh, this thing is going to be on the top 10. And I'm like, You submitted the podcast with you and
He's
just
worse
Joe.
when he wins those Emmys. Then it gets like,
But I think when you've played it against an Oregon on that type of setting, when you've played and won a conference championship game, I feel like it's natural to think like lesser of games that aren't on that stage.
I.e. Notre Dame and NIU.
I think that's natural for some people to be like, yeah, but I've played on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Forget these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's where we belong. I think that's natural. I don't know if that plays into any of this at all. There's also every year is different, period.
Yeah.
You always, every year we do this where we go, oh, look what they're bringing back. They're going to be great again. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
It's never the same. And it does take time. And to Liberty's credit, because we've kind of talked about a lot of the negatives,
I know,
there were a lot. There were. Jamie Chadwell would sit here and tell us a lot of negatives too. He wasn't just, but they found a way.
Yeah.
I know,
and that's the most important thing.
That.
You have guys with championship DNA that have done it, and they found a way. Somebody, actually, it was our buddy Donald who works with us. He said, "Oh, that reminded me of the Louisiana Monroe game a few years back. You remember that? That was Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving week.
We went down there and we lost that game.
Yeah,
We couldn't find a way.
Favorites.
Yeah, we
35
couldn't
point
find a
favorites
way.
and got beat.
They found a way.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So for all the frustrations, and they'll get that sorted out, I'm sure, this week or continue to. You find a way to get the win.
The reason that I'm frustrated is because I feel like my Flames fantasy team is not as strong.
Well,
this
it's in the
year.
garbage. I can tell you that.
And then, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna win the Snell scoring system trophy this year.
Yeah.
Right here.
Behind you. Yeah.
I'm gonna win that this year.
Okay.
And then I go and make these bold predictions.
Yeah.
And then I'm like sitting there biting my nails, freaking out that we're gonna lose the game.
I got a text. This was from Emily during the game. This was at 12:49. It says,
Late, Emily.
"Sorry for the late text, but what the heck?" That's what I got. That's what I got from Emily.
Thank you for not reading the entire text.
She is quick to press a panic button. There is a reason. There's a reason. Everything that you're saying, Matthew.
Yeah.
Everything that you're saying, there's a reason why y'all talked through the tweet out in the second quarter.
You just give confidence.
Just don't press the panic button, everybody. We don't even have a meltdown yet. It's all going to work out.
And I did.
It's what championship DNA teams
I know.
do.
I did hear.
The reason why Jamie Chadwell has won a boatload of football games.
I
And guess
know.
what? In winning a boatload of football games, you face all different kinds of adversity and you play through them.
I did hear from an inside source that at halftime of this game, somebody saw your tweet and said, "Guys."
Yes, they held it up.
They held it up
In the
and
locker
said,
room.
Why his head is
"Y'all
gonna
don't
explode.
still believes. Do you believe? Do you believe?"
Rally.
Yeah, and then
rally.
Yeah, right.
Rally.
Yep.
Rally.
Are you powered by Alcova? And then they took the field, and the rest is history. Yeah.
I have lost complete control of this
I do
show.
have a few more things before we go to the interview.
Yes.
Is that all right? Okay.
We're doing UTEP after the interview.
Yes.
Okay.
Couple of thoughts just lastly in all of this. First one, who's the number 2 receiver on this team?
Yeah, good point.
Trayon Sibley's been great. He had the drop touchdown.
Two drops.
But what does he have? 200 and how many yards? He's gone over 100 in both games.
Catch those balls, though.
He did. And it could have been more. It definitely could have been more.
Yeah,
but
Trayon Sibley 155.
He's been the dude.
Yeah.
Who's that next guy? They've got to find who that next guy is.
Gosh.
Whether it's Tyson Mobley, good team, Reese Smith show up. He had the 2-point conversion. Maybe he's that guy that starts to become that. Elijah Cannon had a big third down drop in the first half that was an easy, would have been a first down.
There's your fix, Matthew. That's your fix.
Yeah.
That's your fix.
Yeah.
Let your O-line's going to be fine. They're going to find the guys. They'll get it. But your fix is the quarterback and the receivers.
Yeah.
Once you find that fix, then we're going to be on this podcast and all the Liberty fans, but we're back, baby. We're going to playoffs, blah. You guys got to get it fixed. And here's the thing. Here's the difference, though. Sometimes there's just not enough talent on the field in order to fix it. Sometimes your quarterback isn't good enough in order to fix it. Liberty has both. They've got talent at receiver, and they've got a really good quarterback.
And you know what else
and
they
that,
have?
That will
Dr. Korn.
And they got Dr. Korn in the laboratory doing his
He's
thing.
scrubbing in.
He's scrubbing in.
Yeah.
He's got the hands
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
He turns the back on the
They
door.
always
Before he enters the coach's booth, he goes like this, and he goes
Yeah.
backwards like that.
Yeah.
And he comes in. So they got
Coach Ledeco opens the door for him.
Ledeco opens and he hits it like that, and he backs in, right?
Yeah.
And so they got all those things going for him, right? And so that's
early,
eventually.
too.
Now, I will say this. If they don't adjust the attitudes across the board, it's going to be a problem for the rest of it. You've got to clean it up.
Well, and we talked about
Got to clean it up.
It's ramping up. Now, I don't know if UTEP will be better than New Mexico State. Probably not. But after that, ECU, who just beat Old Dominion.
Yeah, ECU
And
looks good.
then App State. Forget what happened to them at Clemson. That was, but they're the best team on this schedule. So it's going to get good quick. My other thought, as I was watching late in this game, was we were that close to never seeing the baby blue uniforms again.
Oh, I know.
Those would have been thrown into a trunk.
They would have been
buried
set on fire
like in
with the
Raiders of the
flamethrower.
Lost Ark.
We could have hit him with the flamethrower.
It would have just gone in that warehouse somewhere, never to be found again. We would have never seen those uniforms again. Go ahead.
So go no.
And then I was going to say last thing. Shout out to my buddy Steve Briston, who listens to the podcast, who was up till 2 a.m. firing off texts to me the whole time. He was living and dying with every play. So for those of you that stayed up till 2 a.m. when this game ended, Emily, not one of them. For those of you that did, give him a hand. Those are diehards.
Those are diehards.
Let's never do that again. Though.
Good news.
Let's never do that again.
We are back on the call this week, and it's a 6 p.m.
It's a normal time.
So hopefully, I won't tell you about the weather report that's showing right now. But first,
we'll be dry.
But first,
we'll be dry,
we have plenty more to talk with Flames football. But first, let's go to this conversation with Halle Engle. We step away from the gridiron and go to the pitch because Lady Flames women's soccer is just tearing it up this year.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Red hot. Yeah. Leading the way is Halle Engle, 6 goals on the year. Ladies and gentlemen,
give it up.
Halle is here.
Come on, Halle.
Our first ever guest on the Flame Central podcast,
Welcome.
Powered by Alcova Mortgage.
I have a feeling there may be multiple appearances before your time is done here at Liberty.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
And you
Keep
got
scoring goals like that.
Yeah.
You got a little warning from Ivy,
Yes.
about what this is all about.
She said, "Don't do it." Is that what she said?
No, she loved you guys. She loved you
Okay, all
guys.
right, good.
Yeah.
Pickleball will be happen at the Yacht Talk compound for women's soccer because you guys have had such
Let's set it
a
up.
good
We'll do
season
it.
so far.
a big pickleball player, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I put in the word for her.
We'll bring the squad out. We did. The women's field hockey team, softball. The softball team came out and played a nice event there. Let's get the women's soccer team out.
All right,
Why
let's
not?
do it.
We'll
Have a
plan
little
that.
fun.
We'll plan that in just a bit. But first, tell me about this start to the season so far. You guys just took down your first ever ranked opponent on the road at Virginia Tech. Who cares about those Hokies? We've got the Lady Flames here. What's been, the difference this season of how you guys have gelled? Because you guys really picked this up. You started 11-0 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about this team and how you guys have had such a hot start.
So we're a completely different team from last year. I know you guys have probably talked to the older girls before, but we had I think 8 or 9 girls leave, and we had 8 new starters on our team. So that was super big for us this year. I wasn't even there last year, so I wasn't able to play in those big time games. So it was really exciting, obviously, to be part of that. But I just think our mentality and our grit is what brought us through the entire game. And Coach Lang is always talking about how we are little in size, we don't have a ton of height, but we play so big and we play so strong. So I think that's what really.
You guys got that
through.
dog in
Yeah.
So you go on the road, right? Because you had been 5-0 or 6-0 maybe going into that Virginia Tech game. And I remember we were talking last week, okay, now we'll find out. Now is that next level of test. You go on the road, ranked opponent. For you guys, it's always fun when teams like you that you go on the road and win a game like this. On the outside, everyone's ooh, I don't know, this will be tough. Inside the group, what's it like? Do you feel okay, this isn't a big step up. This isn't outside of what we have to do normally to win a game like this. Does it feel like that for you guys in the locker room?
Yeah, I think we have so much confidence, and we get a lot of it from Coach Lang. He does a great job just rooting that confidence in us, and then we are really accountable with one another, making sure we're all on the same page. We can compete with anybody, and just because we are, I don't know, a mid-major school doesn't mean we have any potential of competing with those high-end schools. So our confidence going in was really
Is it because Lang went on his journey overseas? It might also impact
How has Lang changed since running across Spain? Is he a different guy?
Yeah, I mean, Lang's always been Lang.
Does he say, oh, you're tired? Let me tell you about the 35 miles I ran one afternoon across the middle of Spain. Yeah.
35 miles a day for what, 10 days?
15 days.
15 days.
He's a huge role model. Obviously, having a coach who puts forth the work that he wants us to do, and that makes us want to work too, because it's hard to follow somebody that doesn't do what you have to do.
Right.
So he's a great leader.
We experienced that with Joe. Joe's been saying for 2 years he's going to run a mile, and he hasn't done it. 1 mile. We're not talking about
1 mile.
He's not running across the country.
I can run a mile.
And he didn't know how to count the laps before because he sat there and said, I can run a mile in 6 minutes. I go, Joe, and he goes, wait, it's 4 laps?
Why do
Okay,
we gotta
8
keep bringing
minutes,
this
8
up?
minutes.
Because it's
he said
hard
he can
to follow,
run
Joe.
a mile in 8 minutes. I go,
Leaders
no,
lead.
you can't.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't done it.
You've
this
got
was 2 years ago.
Just stop. Just stop. We're working to get to there. Okay? Question for you. So you say you've got 8, 9 new starters, how you said?
Yeah, it's like 8. I mean, it changes every game.
Okay, so in soccer, obviously you're moving the ball around the pitch, right? I played some soccer.
I could tell. I
Yeah,
could tell.
Yeah,
It seems like
yeah. This is almost the same as like talking to the field
Stop
hockey
it.
head
Yeah,
coach.
Joe.
Stop it. I did. I played a lot of soccer I didn't start playing football. I was in 9th grade.
Okay.
So from the 2nd to the 8th grade, I played soccer,
bench.
and I was on the Vienna United East Atlantic champions.
Okay.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it, buddy. Right? I know about the pitch. So you're
easy.
moving the ball around the pitch. You got 8 new starters.
Yeah.
Because continuity in soccer is obviously extremely important. How difficult? Obviously, you've done a very good job of it because wow, look around, look at the record. But how difficult is it getting the feel for all these new people on the field?
Yeah, I mean, we had the opportunity to play in the spring, so like we were able to play, and we got to play like big time teams. We played UNC and UVA in the spring, and so we were able to have a couple of months to like prepare, and it's about the same starting lineup, I would say, like of players playing together in the fall. So like that was like super helpful, but yeah, I mean, it took
you're
us a
gelling.
couple. Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to go back to, you said you weren't a part of this team last year. People remember 2 years ago, you were, A-Sun, all freshman
freshmen.
team, second team all conference. You get hurt, you sit out all of last year.
Yeah.
How tough was that? And what do you feel like you learned having had to go through that?
Obviously, it was super tough. Anybody that goes through injuries know how like tough it is. But like it was the biggest blessing that God could have ever given me because like I got to step away from soccer and like learn what it's like to be a sideline servant. That's what we use like on our team when you're not playing, sideline servant. And like I got to go through with another teammate, Bree Myers, and she was hurt last year with me, and now we're both on the field again. So that's like super special. But yeah, like I really grew like so much like in my faith and just learning how soccer isn't everything at the end of the day, and it's really important, but putting your identity in Christ is just so much more, and now I can play like so much more free. Like we like circle up right before we do the kickoff, and I always like remind the girls like this is such a gift and it's an opportunity to be here, and like it's a gift. I woke up, my legs work, so like I try to just like keep that perspective. But
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Do you think that that's what has led you to the success? 6 goals on the year, just that freedom and playing so freely?
Yeah, like I really just like try to like tone in on just like being free and like not caring about like if I have a goal or if I have 3 goals. Like at the end of the day, I just want like to work well with my team and have our team have the most success. So yeah.
How would you describe this team? Like what is the identity of this team?
I always go back to the word like gritty. Like we're just like we work so hard. Like everybody's pushing everyone and keeping each other accountable, and we have very high standards, and we all like hold each other to those standards. So that's what helps.
Who was the like dancer before the game, and she was like super wild? That
Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Annie. Yep.
Annie's
We
still on the
miss
team.
her. We
No,
miss her.
she's
so
gone.
She
much.
graduated, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
So
assumed
who
that
has stepped
role?
into that role?
I don't really think
Annie's
anybody
hard
has.
to
She's
replace.
hard.
One of one.
I mean, you
Annie's
can't
hard to
really fill
replace.
those shoes.
Yeah. No, okay.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
She's
those
hard to replace.
videos
Oh
were
my gosh.
wild. Wild.
She's crazy.
Hey, Hallie,
Yeah.
do me a favor and say that's a good question. Okay. Did you hear me? Okay,
Right
so-
now?
Yeah, right now. Just wait.
All right.
Wait. So what do you feel like your ceiling for this team could be?
Oh my gosh, that was such a good question.
Thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah.
I mean,
You don't know the backstory real fast. Whenever we have guests on, they always say that to Joe or myself, and Emily feels so self-conscious
Slighted.
that no one
She's
ever
very- she
says.
feels
Oh, I'm so
No
self-conscious.
one ever says that was a great question, and so she
don't
takes
know
that
why
really
I keep coming
personally.
back to this job.
She
Like
takes it
how?
really personally.
That
But
was
that was a
excellent.
good question.
Well
Hallie,
played.
Yeah.
Hallie,
Well
can
played.
Yeah.
can I be a sideline servant? Actually, can
No,
hey, because I'm done with this show. Wait, let's go to a different shot, and then we're gonna zoom in just on me, Doug.
Yeah.
We're gonna zoom in just on me. Hallie, you guys have had so much success to start this
Yeah.
season. What is the ceiling for this team?
that's a great question.
Don't say it. Don't say it. It would have been perfect if you wouldn't have said
Oh
it.
my gosh, one of these is gonna be a tease.
But really, what is the ceiling, though? Yeah, that is a good question.
I mean, the ceiling could be endless. Like we, like obviously every year want to compete and like get to the NCAA tournament, like do well in conference play, like go undefeated. So I'm pretty excited. I think we're gonna go pretty well. And
You guys have competed, like even going back, it was Georgia in the tournament last year that you guys were like right there with? Like you competed well in those games.
Yeah.
But getting the win over Virginia Tech, checking that box, beating a ranked opponent, does that take the confidence to another level just in the fact that now you've believed it, but you've actually done it?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps our confidence. Like beating, they were ranked last week, number 21, so like that shows us that we can compete with the top 25 teams, and that completely grew our confidence.
I know Joe has a lot more knowledge on soccer than I do, but how rare is it to have a goaltender like goalkeepers split time?
It's not.
You guys have
very
done
rare.
Oh, it isn't?
Yeah, like I mean, we had Ainsley last year. She's still come back from an injury, and like she would play 90 minutes. It's like a goalkeeper is like a tough position to be in because
I know, that's why I'm saying, like, I feel like if you, I don't know, if you're splitting time with someone else, like I don't know if that like hurts your confidence or like I don't know your.
It's hard.
But
I mean, I'm not in their shoes, so like, I'm not.
She's more into the business of hurting goalkeepers' confidence, not so much worried about their confidence. Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a strategic question for you. And I know in soccer that the way a lot of teams who feel like they don't have a chance to win the game, that they're an inferior team, is that a lot of the strategy becomes back to packing in on their defensive zone. And
you correct him at any point if you disagree.
And she'll agree with that. This is a proper.
Like trying to defend.
They're trying to defend. Like, hey, we know that because then they changed the overtime rules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the overtime rules were changed, and so now a strategy's been like, hey, we know we can't hang with you one-on-one, so we're going to try to pack it in, make it as difficult as possible for your team to score in order to get it to overtime and try to at least get a tie out of it. Have you guys had that happen to you in games that you've played where teams like, hey, we're going to be outplayed by you, they're just better than us, so let's try to really pack it in and make it frustrating for you as an offensive player?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you a specific team that comes to my mind, but teams do that to us like a lot.
It's
like
they'll
like try to like get like a fluke goal and then just like defend the whole game. And honestly, those are the hardest games to play because they're just like sitting back so far. So it's so hard to like get balls in behind or like get shots off because it's just like getting deflected or
right.
Yeah,
Those
are hard games.
There's no space.
Yeah, those are really hard games. Yeah.
Another thing we talk about on the podcast a lot is that there are lessons in losing. You guys obviously haven't done so this year, but how does a team grow and overcome, that when you haven't overcome that adversity of a loss, how have you guys grown to this point in the season?
So this actually comes back to yesterday. We played West Virginia. We tied them 1-1. Wasn't our best game, and like in my head, like it kind of felt like a loss because we didn't like bring everything to the field, and like I think we could have competed with them and even beaten them. So like that just like completely reshapes our mentality, like back to like every single team is going to be competitive. Coach Lang said this at the end of the game. It doesn't matter if they're like not ranked, like every team is out to beat us. So like it's just like keep your mentality on like the next game, like winning the next game. So yeah.
I got to think too, you like, and it's like this for a lot of Liberty sports, but you guys in particular, you got that target on your back come conference tournament time or conference season, right? Do you feel that like with the success you guys have started to experience, where the program has come, like you are the biggest game on the schedule for a lot of people?
Yeah, definitely. So just like winning the conference tournament last year, like everyone's out to beat us. Obviously New Mexico State, we beat them in the finals, so like they're gonna come hard on us like once conference play starts. So yeah, we should prepare for that.
So were you a red shirt? You got a medical red shirt?
Yeah.
So how many years eligibility do you have left?
Including this year, 3.
So you have three more. Okay, so this year and then 2 more.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Future
looks bright.
The future is very bright. All right, so you have a set of road games at George Mason on Thursday, UNCG on Sunday.
5 straight road games during
I was about to say,
so Coach Lang's like, here we go, girls.
He's like, have you ever been on the road and competed?
We're getting close on the bus and in the hotels, but yeah.
I call it Jamie Chadwell. Get that. Well, I guess George Mason isn't fun. Those aren't very
Lang's
far,
actually just running to George Mason. He's like, I'll just meet you guys there. I'm just gonna start running now. Yeah.
All right, you guys, got anything else?
Hallie, it's been fun watching you guys play this year. I'm excited for you guys to get back home with all the success you've had. I know there's a lot of people that want to come out and support you guys. So ready for this little road swing to be over. FIU, September 27th, Friday night. Everybody get out
down.
there. Hopefully
Is
by
that
hopefully
really
by
the
that point
next
you're
home
what
game?
10-0-1.
Yep.
Let's
hope,
do that
yeah.
and we'll all show up.
Yeah.
Hallie,
Joe has one thing for you.
you gotta take this mug and you gotta look in that camera right there and you say, "This is Halle Engle's angle, and my angle is."
Wait, what?
This is the Flame
Check, please.
Central podcast, powered by Alcova Mortgage. So,
See, it's on the
Flames-
back. It's font
Flame
2,
Central podcast,
powered by
Really,
Alcova
we should
Mortgage.
tape a script on
I
that.
just learned how to
Flame
say
Central
it.
podcast.
Hey,
Powered.
deliver it, Hallie.
This is it.
Deliver
Right
it.
into the
Yeah.
camera.
This is the Flame Central podcast delivered by powered by Alcova Mortgage.
Bang!
Very good. Very good.
Hallie.
Very good.
Congrats on a great start to the
on the
season.
spot.
I know.
You did
He
great.
does that to
You did
everybody.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you can train him in the mile because
great.
we tried to get.
You can come out and run with us.
Yeah, really.
Yes, that's where
We
your
have practice
training should go.
tomorrow.
I started running and I hurt my Achilles. Well,
Oh my gosh.
10 nights.
Hallie, thanks again for your
Thanks
time.
for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Gotta love Hallie. Gotta get
Yeah.
the girls out to Yacht Talk.
Love to have the girls out.
to
Have a little
play
fun.
to play some pickleball. Excited to see
What
what
a
they're.
season for them.
I know.
Like they have
Really
a
the
shot.
last
Apparently
2
rankings
years.
come out Tuesday. There's a shot that they're ranked.
Yeah,
Nice.
They were receiving votes before,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a shot they cracked the top 25. How cool would that be?
that would be awesome.
That would be outstanding.
super
And the what I've done on this podcast personally, to my knowledge of women's sports, when we talked to the field hockey coach about
That's why you're here.
about the pack line defense, and
Yeah.
now you guys think I know nothing about soccer.
You're able to break out that
and then
soccer
And then I
knowledge.
start bringing out soccer. Oh, Joe actually does know what he's talking about.
You know what
Joe,
I wish
guys,
we had an
thank you
angle
very
of?
much.
Hallie's face when Joe's explaining it. Joe's on camera, but Hallie's sitting there going
No,
like
she-
this.
she
like,
Joe
knew.
Yock
What
is,
are you
She
talking
knew.
Is
No,
it, is it
At least
not?
I'm like, hey,
Just
I don't know.
layer after layer
Thank
after
you.
layer,
It's
like,
like
a blooming
peeling-
onion in
it's
an
like
Outback
peeling back the
Steakhouse.
onion.
Just
Oh
peel
my
it back,
gosh, I
and it's
love
all
blooming
these sides
onions.
of Joe you just never knew existed.
I am starving. Let's finish
Most
this
interesting
podcast.
man in the world. Yeah, yeah.
We got to get through this because I am so hungry. I love blooming onions.
They
I haven't
are
had one of those in
good. They are
ages.
good.
So we'll keep you up to date
Yeah.
with how Lady Flame Soccer continues this successful run. UTEP coming to the Berg.
Homecoming, right?
Homecoming. Man, I need to look at the lineup for homecoming. See if we can get on the show maybe. But yeah, Flames will clean up some stuff this week. They're off today to kind of get the body back
Yeah,
on this the Eastern time zone and all of that. That's a lot of travel. I mean,
Going out Friday didn't help.
Yeah.
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 I mean, they went out late Friday.
Yeah. That I don't. Yeah.
It's I don't know
That's
how
my
other
personal
teams do
thing.
that don't have charters. I really don't. But UTEP lost in overtime to Southern Utah
Yeah.
on Saturday. This was kind of a roller coaster of
It was
a game.
a weird game. UTEP was up 17-6 at the half.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up having to pull out kind of the Philly special as time expired just to force
You hear the
overtime.
play-by-play guy. He's like, I don't know what that just was, but they scored. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
it was wild.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
They
didn't
missed
watch it.
a field goal late in
Mm.
the second half. They missed a field goal in overtime to lose. So kicking struggles kind of bit them a little bit there. They're defensively,
Let's have a kickoff in Lynchburg.
yeah, defensively, I think they're going to struggle slowing down Liberty's run game.
Yeah.
Because Southern Utah was
You
able
know
to
what?
move the ball.
Ran down the
you
throat,
need
yeah.
you've. This is the second week you've done this in a row. You know I love you to death, but you last week. You hit the New Mexico State. They can't throw the football. We're gonna shut them down.
I mean,
it was like
you're right.
oh, we're gonna get killed.
You're right.
And then now you go.
You're
now,
right.
Learn.
You're right.
Learn. If you
You're right.
don't, what's the old history saying? Huh? What's the old history saying?
Those
right?
who
You don't-
those
learn
who don't
it,
learn from
have a tendency
history
to
or
repeat it.
repeat something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yada yada.
Yeah,
We're really
so-
winning in that.
so just stop with that talk.
Okay.
But
enough of
UTEP
that
did
talk.
have a few explosive plays
They
that
offensively, Scotty Walden, right, their head coach,
Scotty
the
Walden,
guy
yep.
who came from Austin P and before that Southern Miss, offensive guy. They throw a lot of. I was looking at some of the stats. A lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage, 0 to 9 yards. That's the majority of what they do passing the football, but they're very efficient at it. So
Yeah.
offensively they can do some things. Defensively is where I think they're going to struggle against Liberty. They gave up almost 400 yards to Southern Utah.
And
So it'll be
what were the Southern Utah's rushing yards?
They rushed for 5.7 a carry, went from 270 on the ground.
270,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I have a
tough.
question.
Yeah.
What was the final score of the Boise State Oregon game?
Oregon won by a touchdown.
Because Boise
Yeah.
State was up.
Boise State's
Boise
running
State-
back is the best back in the country. That Ginty kid.
That's
is
a big
freak.
statement.
Yeah.
That's a bold
He's
statement.
a stud.
But back to like our games.
Yeah,
Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is because Boise State's going to be in the hunt with Liberty if
Right.
things play out.
Right, I
Boise
know.
State will
I
have
was-
Liberty at the in the playoff spot. So that's a good
we
showing
just
by
got to
them.
focus on
One game at a time.
We
One game.
cannot
We're
look
trying
at
to go
the
one game at a
playoff
time.
We're going
Michelle.
one game at a time.
Please. But you have UTEP. They scored with 2 seconds left, right,
Yeah.
to force overtime. They elect not to go for 2 to win the game. I'm sorry, but if you had the lead, then you blow a lead. The last thing I want to do is go to
Here's my
overtime.
thinking on that. Typically, is if you're at home, I feel better about going to overtime. If you're on the road, I just try to
Yeah.
steal it right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I typically kind of come down. Like,
Yeah.
That's what Harbaugh was getting ready to do to the Chiefs on opening
true.
night on
it's true.
Monday
They
night.
were going to go for 2 right then.
They're
and
going to go
steal
for 2 to
Yep.
steal it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weather not looking ideal right now.
What's the
Last time
weather
I checked,
reports?
it was 65% chance of rain. However,
that's-
this time last
It's
week when
same
I looked
thing,
at
right.
the weather for Lynchburg, it said it was going to be pouring down rain all weekend.
more
and
delays.
It was absolutely beautiful.
We don't want another weather delay. Although
However,
it did
I
give
didn't
me-
have a chance to say this, but I was giving updates. George Flickinger and I are best friends now. I know how to
gosh.
read the what is it
The
called?
Doppler?
Doppler. It was, and I was
Chance
worried
rate's
that
down to 40. We're fine.
We're good. Although that weather delay did give us time to run down and get some brownies. Joe and I had a nice little snack during that
Yeah,
delay.
oh
so
my
it was
gosh,
nice.
were you guys going like this?
Yeah, yeah.
You're so
We did the whole wrap the arm hand. Yeah, we did.
You guys are
We're
so
pals.
cute.
Yeah,
You guys look so cute and cozy in the,
yeah, we
the
did.
man cave.
You know what I do find good to speaking of George Flickinger is how the Liberty student section has embraced the George Flickinger.
100%
and
chance
there's
of
a
flames.
100% chance of flames.
yeah.
And then the student section goes
They're
crazy.
all in.
I love
Like
it.
Man, you
there's-
should have
I
seen
love
his
that.
setup for this game.
I saw a
mean,
picture. It was like
massive
Who
TVs.
set up, George?
Yeah, and I'm like all in and like going like this, and he's like, "Excuse me, ma'am, who are you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
can I tell you?
"You must not listen to the."
Can I tell you? And this is only a very small part of our audience will get this, but if you ever watched George do his live weather reports, like on Facebook, like during severe weather, it always kills me because you have all these people that comment, and so he'll be like, "Well, it's looking like there are some high winds here." Oh, Jamie out in Rustburg. Yep, nope. Good to see you. Good to see. Nope, doing great. Thank you. Okay, so there shouldn't be. Oh, Chuck, Madison Heights. This is a new tie. Yes, it is. Thank you. It's like he keeps getting interrupted
Matt's
by
on
the
fire
comments.
today.
It was hilarious. I love it.
That's
Oh
how we
my
need to do
gosh.
mailbag.
This is a
Yeah,
meteorologist at WSOC
Yeah, yeah.
for those who aren't
So funny.
lunchburgers. But anyway, let's get to.
Which do you want first? Do you want fantasy or do you want
I'm so
Snell
depressed.
scoring system?
I'm so
Let's go
depressed. I
fantasy.
didn't
Go
know-
fantasy.
We kind of know how
Where's
this
our-
is going.
Where's our?
Give her more depression.
Where's our
Flames. Oh,
trophy?
yeah, here you go.
Where's the trophy?
Here's the trophy.
I don't even care about this stupid trophy
This is
anymore.
what we're playing for right now, or at least two of us are. Flames fantasy scoring. Joe, another big week. Quentin Cooley, 23 points. Quentin
Bye-bye.
Cooley provided for you.
Add,
And
give me a
CJ
big one.
Bazell
Oh, touchdown.
also got fumble recovery score,
Touchdown.
so 11 and a half points for him.
I only get defense touchdowns on
You
the
get six. You get
6.
six,
You
yeah.
get 12 for that.
Yeah.
Defense touchdowns.
Brylan Green did all right. Billy Lucas, Millie Hanshaw, not much. So Joe had
Lucas had some yards.
He did. He gave you 4.6 points. Joe had 43.1 points this year, bringing his grand total to 89.8. 89.8.
How we do in the war room?
For
We're on a
me,
draft.
Von Blue, liked seeing him get involved early on there. He had 6.1 points. Treyon Sibley, another big game. If he caught that touchdown, would have been nice. 18 for Treyon. Joe Carter, which I felt like we started to see a lot more of
you
Joe
did see more
Carter,
Joe Carter,
less
yeah.
Taylor Jackson in the second half at linebacker. 4.5. Taylor Jackson not as well. Reese Smith, 5.3 points. So solid for him. I had 36.4. I have 63 points. Joe,
much do I have?
89. I'm at 63. Still in shouting distance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking. Do we even want to?
They don't need to.
Do you want to?
They don't need to even know. It's
So-
it's a 2-pony race.
So,
This is a 2-pony race.
Joe
it's
has
week 2.
not.
It's
Joe
a
had
2-pony
12
race.
points after 6 weeks
Yeah.
last year.
Hey, we're not. This didn't. We're not talking
We
about
talking
last
last year?
We're talking about last. We're talking about
We
last.
talking about
year?
last year?
Emily
No,
had
we're
18
talking about
points.
practice.
Oh, I'd say Emily had 18 points. She has 35 on the
This is
year.
awesome.
So it's
This is so awesome.
Stupid trophy.
the Chiefs'
Give us
three-peat
what's the
is
update?
looking better than Emily's at this
What's the
point.
update?
So Joe at 89, I'm at 63, Emily at 35.
Okay.
Long season. Long season.
Yeah, there's a lot of football left.
Long,
It's almost
long,
week
lot of
4.
football to play.
It's
when
almost week 4.
And when does trade line? When does the trade or the you can
After
pick-
week 4.
After week 4, you can swap.
So after East is that East Carolina?
Listen, Emily, just because I'm nice, I'll give you Cooley after week 4. Fat chance.
All right, let's go to the Snell scoring.
Should have never
system.
given him
That's
first pick. That was
beautiful.
the stupidest decision. ever.
Snell's scoring system looks like this. Let's see. What were the predictions?
I forgot. I was like on a plane.
Okay. Emily sent me 35-13 LU. I went 42-16 LU. Joe went 52-3 LU. According to our guy Jeff Snell, who does all the scoring.
Man, this
He
was
said-
an early game for him. He
Yeah,
probably loved this
that's true, in
time
Idaho, yeah.
zone.
Joe went on to post the worst weekly result in the history
It's all about balance,
of the
baby.
scoring system.
It's all about balance, baby.
He said,
That is
he
beautiful.
goes, we may never again see a prediction that wrong.
I
So-
made up for it with my tweet.
You did.
And that's what I'm saying. The tweet should count instead.
Yes.
It was bold.
So
Oh my
Emily
gosh.
won for a second straight week in that. So she has 4 points on the year because you get 2 for a win. I have 1.5 because Joe and I split last week, and I got 1 for this week. Joe's still at half a point. So that's the way it shakes
Bold
out
predictions.
for this.
Wait, what was my other little nugget that
Bold
I
predictions.
I don't remember what you actually. I think I had. Did I even write that down? I don't know.
said? I can't even.
I don't know. We've got so
No
much
one
going
around.
on here. I don't
Bold
know.
predictions.
Okay, so UTEP predictions. I'm going 45.
Hold on,
Sorry,
hold
go
on.
ahead, Joe. It's
sorry,
your show.
Sorry, Emily. Sorry. No, I'm sorry.
He has
I
two
wanted to
good
get
weeks
this
in Flames.
I wanted to get this in, but I think we should add a segment.
What is it?
Is it okay? I'm going to talk to our producer here.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we should add a segment. I think we should add the powered by Alcova, the
He just thought of this.
no, I just
20
I think-
seconds
hold
ago.
on.
He's thinking of it.
the
still
Alcova,
currently.
the Alcova
Yeah.
Mortgage. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm
just
listening.
listen. The Alcova Mortgage
Mile.
power play of the game.
Power play of the game.
The Alcova Mortgage power play of the game.
Okay.
And so I'll kick it off this week and then think about this for next week,
Okay.
right? So my Alcova Mortgage power play of the game is the Jerome Jolly tackle on third down
good.
to get the Flames the ball back in the punt. So let's do that moving forward.
Okay.
My favorite part of the show is when we have a guest and Joe starts a question and you can tell he's trying to
form
think
it?
of the question as he's asking the question.
I don't think that's true.
my favorite thing. You just see the wheels turning.
That's kind of what I do
and he's just
at
like,
halftime.
I'm gonna find this eventually, and then he does. He always does. He always comes through. But I
Oh,
really
man.
enjoy that. Bold predictions.
Oh, wait,
I also have mailbag.
one more nugget that
Yeah.
I just remembered when you said that. We are now doing a post-game interview with Coach Chadwell and a player.
Yes.
If you haven't been watching Flame Central Game Day, there's a pregame show. It starts an hour before kickoff and then immediately following the game. You will get the raw emotion of Jamie Chadwell,
Love
win
it.
or lose.
Love it.
So that is something that we've added this year, and it was
Good TV. Is
it
what
was
is.
good
Dangerous.
TV.
It was good
what he
TV.
said into the camera there about
Jamie's
if
a
you think
pro,
we're a
he's
playoff
not a-
team, stop.
Yeah.
So
Lucky to win a game.
be sure to check that out.
Yeah.
We are going to be sitting down with Quentin Cooley for the pregame interview for this Flame Central Game Day on Saturday. So be sure to check that out. Like I said, an hour before kick, and then after the show. Couple quick NFL nuggets. Demario Douglas, 2 receptions for 12 yards. Malik Willis is a projected week 2 starter.
about that?
Jordan Love
How
went
about
fedown
that?
with a sprained MCL.
Hey, welcome to
on
Green
Sunday.
Bay.
Or on
Here's the keys to
Here's the
Ferrari.
Thursday,
yeah,
right?
it's your team now for the few
Yeah.
weeks at least.
third offense that he's had to learn in 3 years in the NFL.
I think he said it's the
or fourth.
fourth. What is this his third or
Fourth.
fourth year in the league? Third?
It has to be his
Third? Yeah. He said this is his 4th offensive coordinator in 3
Yeah.
years.
So
Blake plays.
I
I
hope
forget
so, too.
who do the Packers have this week?
I
see.
don't know, but they go to Tennessee week 3.
Yeah.
So he gets to go back home to take on Tennessee week 3.
So this will
that'll
be
interesting.
huge for Malik Willis. You have an opportunity.
Absolutely.
I wish that it was a little bit later, either this year, maybe next year, the next. But Love is supposed to be out with that sprained MCL for the next 2 to 4 weeks. So
They have the Colts.
can you imagine if they've
hosting the
signed?
Colts.
Because there was like some rumors saying that they were going to sign Ryan Tannehill. Like I can't get away from.
Was
this
it
guy.
really?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Tannehill's still playing anyway?
No, he's not.
No,
Yeah.
no. They have the Colts Sunday, September 15th. So we'll see
All right,
how Malik Willis
bold
does.
predictions, then mailbag.
Okay, I'm going 45-17. I am still believing in those Flames and that they're going to get back you know, in the same groove, or they're going to be back in a groove offensively. So 45, 17? Yeah, 45-17, and I'm going to go, the defense will combine for 4 sacks and 4 picks.
4 picks? Oh my gosh,
Whoa,
that's bold.
You
that
guys
makes-
always complain
that
that
makes-
I do.
No, you're right. You're
It's
right.
true.
Yeah, I'll give you
You
credit.
guys
either
are
go-
always on one end.
No matter
no,
what
no.
she says, we either go, oh, that's
my-
not bold, or we go,
Whoa,
whoa.
no,
you're an
that's
idiot,
too
Emily.
bold.
No,
You're an idiot.
no. Historically, you're not bold, right? Historically,
Okay,
you're not bold.
is there anything that you want to say to pump me up?
No, I'm going to pump you up right now. So historically, you're not bold. So for you to go to the edge like that and say 4 picks, I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 picks.
That is,
What if
that is
that
rip.
actually- what if
That's not
what
bold.
if that
That's
actually-
dumb. I'm just trying to get some,
Yeah, that's
some
bold.
good juju.
I like it. I respect it.
Some
I
good
respect
juju
it.
over
You
there,
want
so.
my bold prediction?
Yeah, what you got?
I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay.
I think Liberty's offense still has some things to work out, and that's going to take time. And defensively, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm going to take the Flames in a 21-19.
Oh,
Whoa,
that's
we're talking
bold.
really
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, and then
Wow,
my-
I'm going to give that
yeah.
to Dr. Korn.
Yeah, I think they got some
Wow.
work to do offensively. And then my bold prediction is going to be that 21 points they're not going to run it that much. So I'm going to say that the breakout receiver this week is going to be Elijah Canyon, and he is going to score. He's going to have over 7 receptions, and he'll score 2 touchdowns. He's going to
Wow,
score 2
see,
of the touchdowns.
that's what I like to hear, baby,
Yeah.
because that's my opinion.
I'm going to go 42-20, Liberty win. And I'm going to say we get, is it bold to say we have 4 different guys rush for a touchdown?
Yeah, that'd be very bold.
Yeah, I think 4 different guys.
Wow, we might be just off the rails at this point. Hopefully you weren't watching this or listening, late at night because you're probably asleep by now. This thing has been about 7 hours long.
We got mailbag too.
But we
Let's
do,
mailbag.
I think
I got a story too.
Okay, let's do the mailbag first.
Do mailbag first.
Question from David. Let me look real quick. I guess he was saying more so like, and we've covered this a little bit, should we be more concerned with how the team looked or just thrilled that they found a way in the end? Did you leave this game, Joe, just real quick, feeling better or worse about where this team is at?
I think you leave the game feeling better, and the reason that you feel better is because it is what it does is it shows your DNA, and winners just find a way to win. And though everything that is on the plate is correctable, all the bad things the penalties are correctable. The lack of continuity between the quarterback and the receivers is correctable. Offense line getting better. Defense has stepped up. So everything, and then it's in your DNA to be a champion. That is more important. There's a lot of teams out there that will find a way to lose those games, and they didn't.
I feel better
Yeah.
after, I don't know. I'm actually, I'm undecided
Okay.
because I felt worse just with the whole product of the game. But then hearing Coach Chadwell in that post game in the locker room just say like the character and like I'll tell you 2 truths, that made me feel better because they did find a way. But then when I heard his post game interview about them being a selfish team, that made me feel worse because
You've been
that
riding a
isn't
roller
as
coaster.
correctable. Like you have good character to win and that DNA of being a champion, but at the same time, guys need to check themselves if you're being selfish.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I need more information before I feel
Right.
great about it. Another question quickly from Jonathan Arnold. This is a
You
good
send
one.
out mugs.
We need to get some, I know. We need to get some.
What's the new mug design?
Because I've been a little busy.
It's always. We need a new mug design. I
Yeah,
want
we'll
mugs
get it.
out.
We'll work on it.
Okay.
He asked a great question, I think. 12-team playoff, right? He said, and this is all hypothetical. We're not, Coach, we're not looking ahead too much. We're not talking about it yet. But he's saying in a team like Liberty situation, is it better to be the 12th seed, go into the playoff and get beat because you'd be going on the road,
We
it's
said
a really
this
good team,
same
or
thing about
go to a good bowl game and win over a Power 4 opponent or whatever? Which do you think is better, more valuable
we
for a
talked about
program
this.
like Liberty?
We talked about this
Last year.
Like, should you go to a good New Year's Six bowl?
But
or
now
should
that
you-
we've done it and we lost, Like now, I guess going into the playoff, what do you feel like?
Unfortunately, with the expectations that have been placed on Liberty of going to that New Year's Six Bowl and like what's going into this year, like everybody's projecting them to be that 12th team or that 12th team. I think if you don't make the playoffs, it's like looked at as a disappointment in this. And I think that that is completely wrong. And I think that now that there is a 12-team playoff, if you don't go to that 12-team playoff, it's going to be like, oh, the bowl games. Because the bowl games were like that before if it wasn't a New Year's Six. So I lost my train of thought. What was the question? No, I'm kidding. Do you know what I mean, though?
I know exactly
like,
what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
It shouldn't be like that, but I feel like that's what it's going to be.
Like the reality of like, there definitely does need to be a reality check that you're not always going to make the playoffs. Like there's some really good teams out there. Now, with that being said, to answer that question specifically in my mind is this, is that depends on what you want your program expectations to be. If you want your program's expectations to always be a contender, right? We want to build this thing up to the point where we got an opportunity to win playoff games. Then I'm going to say every single time you want the opportunity to play, you're going to be the 12 seed. You want the opportunity to play that 5 seed in order to say, okay, where do we got the first chance against Oregon? It gives you an idea where you measure up, right? Now, so if you want to be that, and that's where you want to go, then you always want to be in. If your expectations are, listen, I really don't feel like going to be in the 12 seed and getting blown out by a 5 seed. We're not fully committed to being able to beat a 5 seed. Then say go to a really good bowl game. Love football, enjoy it, everything. So it's a decision what you got to make as an administration, as the athletic department, to say exactly how far do we really want to go with this.
You don't you're not just happy getting there.
Yeah.
Are you committed enough to do what it takes to be able to actually compete?
But what I think that Coach Chadwell, and that's what I think Coach Chadwell and this staff does a really good job of. It's like internally, it's not the same expectation as everybody like externally saying like, oh, Liberty's going to be a playoff team. He's like, we don't even talk about championships. We don't talk about the playoffs. So I think it's more about the journey than that destination and the process of pursuing that dream.
Having said that, I'll take you back. First press conference, Jamie Chadwell hired, stands up there, puts on the visor and said, we're here to go to the 12-team playoff. That's what we're doing. So the expectation, we said it at the time, like, whoa, okay. He came out and said that. Like, we were 2 years away from it at that point, and he was already putting that out there. So maybe he doesn't feel that way right now about how this team is and how they're playing, but that is the goal, and that is the standard, and it has been from day one.
And the thing is, like, then you have to look at it from a reality standpoint, okay? And so that you have to say, okay, is there anybody that set a precedence that says it's possible to do, or is this just ridiculous? And if you look around the landscape of college football, the answer to that question is yes, it can be done, because I think the team that is going to be tough to beat out for that spot if they run the table is Boise State.
And who they're playing and
because you can go all the way back to Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl and beat Oklahoma. Right? So it is. So is there a school out there in Boise, Idaho, in Lynchburg, Virginia, that says, are you capable of doing it? And I think the answer, with the landscape, the transfer portal, everything else, the answer to that question is yes, you are capable of doing it.
Last thing for me just on this too is, if you keep doing that, if you keep putting yourself in that, even if you're losing in the playoff, that changes the perception of your program, your school, your athletic department,
recruiting,
everything. Like, you keep knocking on that door. Like, everyone's talking about, like, oh, we should go to a new conference, blah, blah, blah. That's how that happens. When you start putting yourself year 100%. After year after year in that conversation, that doesn't happen if you go and you win the Music City Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, no knock on that.
No knock on the Music City Bowl. Nashville's a good town.
Nashville's a great town. Love it. But, like, that changes how everyone views your program and can change the trajectory, like, of where your program goes, like where it ends up in the next 5 to 10 years.
We are pushing over an hour. You have 60 seconds to tell your story.
Can you do that?
Okay, so I did the UNC broadcast, and so I go in there, I'm all excited, right, before the game, and I didn't exactly have the right, they messed the credentials, right, so I could get into the radio booth. And so, they did. And so I go and I needed to use the restroom. Well, they got their football operations center. They had all the recruits coming and stuff. And so I'm like, I got to slide through this thing, right? So I come up from like, hey, I got to give a quick credential throw, and then I work my way in. So I'm back there, and all of a sudden I'm working my way through the hallways, and some guys comes and they followed me. One of the security guys followed me, and he says, "Hey, can I help you? Hey, looking for the bathroom." You're like, "Oh, okay." So I'm like, "Okay, I didn't think any big deal." So I go in the bathroom, come back out. He's still waiting on me.
He didn't trust you.
He didn't trust me. I got escorted out of the football. facility.
You say, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah, I said, "I'm the color analyst for the game today." He's like, "I don't really care. You're out. You're out. I don't care who you are." I got escorted out of the football facility.
Wow.
At my alma mater.
You're like, I built this place.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to bring a statue
And I
of
think
Joe
I heard him
Yock
say,
to...
"Don't let the door hit you on the way out."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Well,
that's incredible.
He won't be powered by us.
No.
If you're still listening up to this point, thank you for doing so.
By the way,
it feels
visit
good to be back.
Alcova Mortgage. You go to alcova.com/liberty.
You gotta start getting that in early.
Hey, wait in earlier. Like there's not a lot of folks left right now. And you'll get $5,000 off your closing up. With rates dropping, you gotta hop on this thing.
Get it.
You gotta hop on
Get
this
it.
thing. Absolutely.
Come out to Williams Stadium, support your Flames for homecoming weekend. For Joe and Matt, I'm Emily. We'll see you right back here next week.